Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody. Old, young, women, men, adults, young children, school children. Good evening, and you are welcome to another edition of Green Connect live on Nimrod Worldwide Radio. Once again, I am your able host, Ayo Mipo Ademilusi. Yes, and this evening we've got quite a list of wonderful things you'll be bringing to your hearing. We'll be taking you through an experience like never before. I want to use this medium to appreciate my producer as well as, of course, the CEO of Nimrod Worldwide Radio for this wonderful opportunity to hold this program on this great radio. So last week we had our introductory episode where we gave you a rundown of everything that this program, this show will be about. And like we promised, we are here once again this evening to take you through the three segments of this program, like we mentioned last week. One, the first segment involves a robust climate education, where you are taking through the journey of what climate change is and everything you need to know about climate change. And of course, the second segment is where we bring experts on various themes and topics. We bring them on board to talk to us and to enlighten us on specific and, of course, special themes and then topics. And lastly, the third segment is where we bring to you opportunities within the climate and green space, opportunities for youth, for women, for communities, and everyone. We are talking about opportunities to make cool cash, to make money, to make impact, and to have a legacy. So, without taking much of our time, we want to delve right now into the crux of today's program. But of course, I have here with me this evening a great person, a wonderful person who is actually also a friend and an expert in his field. But of course, when it is time, I'll bring him on board. So very quickly, let's go through the first segment of the program, where we take you through the journey of learning about climate change and environmental sustainability altogether. And today we want to quickly learn about climate change. So you might ask yourself, or you might have been thinking, what exactly is climate change? What is climate change? Now, when people say climate change is real or climate change is fake, what exactly do we mean when we say climate change? All right, let's start from basic secondary knowledge of geography. And of course, there we talk about weather. So at least I want to believe as many as possible we know what weather is all about. Of course, they will tell us that weather is the atmospheric condition of a place. However, climate goes beyond weather. Climate is not just weather. Climate has to do with long term. It is long term. Why weather is climate is long term, why weather is temporary. Now, when we talk about weather changes and then climate changes, obviously we know that changes in weather is temporary, but changes in the climate can be long term. And with that, I'm happy to let you know that climate change has to do with long term changes in weather condition, in atmospheric condition. And this has to do with the long-term change in the Earth's climate. And when we talk about the Earth's climate, we talk about temperature and some other things like precipitation. Now, climate change has been known to be caused by human activities. Largely speaking, it is caused by human activities. And the effects of climate change can be wide ranging. Of course, some of these we'll discuss even as we move forward in the program. Now, effects of climate change. But before we go into that, what are the causes of climate change? What are the things that are likely to bring us to a point where we start saying the climate is changing? Now, the major cause of climate change is bordered on the release of something we've come to know as the greenhouse gases. When we say greenhouse gases, we'll be talking about things like carbon. Now, GHG, which we call greenhouse gases, they are largely carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere. Now, these gases are trapped by the Earth, but of course they are trapped heat from the sun, and then it is released, and then these lead to things we know as global warming. So very quickly, what are the causes of climate change? Now, one very notable cause of climate change remains what we've come to know as burning of fossil fuel. Now, burning of fossil fuel. Now, when we talk about burning of fossil fuel, you remember your vehicles, your generator, and all sorts. Now, fossil fuel, when we talk about oil, and this brings us to the point where we talk about the activities of oil companies, the drilling, the industrialization, and all of this. And of course, we are not saying there shouldn't be a drive towards industrialization, but all we are saying is there is a limit to industrialization. There is a point where industrialization starts hampering the furtherance of a good planet. Also, human activities when it comes to the way we transport ourselves, our transportation system can be a cause and source of climate change. Now, when you look around, you discover that almost day by day there is an increase in the number of vehicles on the road. Now, some of these vehicles have exhausts that are very injurious to human health. Also, another cause is what we've come to know as deforestation. Now, if you look around you, sometimes or thereabout, an institution of higher learning in Nigeria was actually caught in the act of cutting down trees. Now, deforestation is largely about you cutting down trees. Now, the relationship here is that trees or plants largely they take in carbon dioxide, which we humans release. Now, when they take in the carbon dioxide, they release oxygen, which we as humans need. So there's a relationship between humans and plants. Plants release oxygen, which we need. We release carbon dioxide that can be harmful to the environment and to us. Plants suck it in, and then they release the oxygen that we need. With that simple analogy, we know that the absence of trees and plants can be injurious to the planet, and this is evident in climate change. Also, agriculture and livestock. Now, this has to do with things like methane. Now, agricultural activities, sometimes in our agricultural activities, what we do, we release a gas, we release things we know as methane, which can be harmful to the environment. Also, things like synthetic fertilizers can release even nitrous oxide, which are very dangerous to human health and the environment. Also, land use changes, of course, and urbanization, all of these things contribute to climate change. Now, at a point during, of course, the explosion of the urban sector, especially in growing economies, after, of course, gleaning ideas from the Lewisian model of 1954, a movement from rural to urban economies. Now, this can lead to congestion and then a lot of activities that contribute to climate change. Also, waste. The decomposition of waste in landfills can be a contributor to climate change. Now, very quickly, let's look at what are the effects of climate change. So now, when you say climate change, is it real or fake? The effects can help us understand whether it is real or not. Why? Because the effects will be real. It's either the effects are real or they are not real. If they are real, then we can say the phenomenon is real. Now, an effect of climate change, one includes rising sea levels. Obviously, this is largely associated with even coastal areas or riverine areas. For example, Lagos, Ondo, Port Harcourt, Rivers, all of these places, we know that these areas are coastal areas. Now, the activities, when climate change comes into the analysis, there is the possibility for seas to rise, sea levels to rise, and then result in what we know as sea incursion. This is something that is evident in Ayetoro, a community in western Nigeria, Ondo State specifically. And of course, the population of Ayetoro declined from about 30,000 in 2006 to about 5,000 presently. And we know that the cause of this decline is largely attributable to climate change, of course, due to from sea incursion. Also, other effects include increased frequency and severity of extreme weather events, which can include flooding, heat, massive heat. And when you move on the street of Nigeria, you discover that the heat is getting so much. Now, very quickly, we want to bring on board our discussant for today, our guest and expert in theology, and of course a great researcher that is now going into what we know as eco-theology. Of course, the relationship between climate change and then theology. And of course, our guest is a PhD student at the University of Ibadan. the Department of Religious Studies. His research interest is politics and religion, and then recently climate change and religion. And today we are, as a subset of culture, we want to look at the relationship between religion and climate change. How does faith-based approach to climate change? Now, within the global space, the faith-based approach is very salient. Faith-based approach to climate change, because you cannot take away culture, the people, from climate change. That's why we say the people and the planet. And of course, I'm happy to welcome on board, should I say Dr. or Mr. Elijah Samuel. You are welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And we are sure that people will get to learn so much this evening. So let me ask as a kind of a question to first set the pace. What is eco-theology?
All right, thank you very much. Eco-theology basically looks at the intersection and the correlation between theology and climate change. That's the study of the environment. So it looks at the nexus between religion, what role does religion, religious institutions, religious teachings, dogmas, and practices have, and its effect on the environment. So basically, that's the crux of the focus of eco-theology, looking at the nexus, the relationship, the correlation between theology and, in a wider spectrum, religion as a whole, and the environment. The environment, the environmental factors, nature, everything about the environment. When we look at the correlation and the nexus, that's what eco-theology basically is all about.
All right, thank you very much. That's a great one. Now, when we talk about faith and climate change, we are talking about care for the environment. And from the perspective of religion, we know that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And then we know that as people of faith, we understand that the earth is given by one who we respect so much. And so there is a need, a drive for us to care for the environment. And of course, you know, there is no planet B, as we always say it. If these planets get destroyed, there is no planet B. So nobody, it's not like Titanic. Nobody is moving, jumping ship, so to say. So now I just want to ask, is there really a relationship between faith or religion and then climate change? We know culture is very central to climate change. That's why we have cultural heritage. Of course, in some climes they will say arts, culture, and heritage and climate change. So now, as a subset of culture, is there any relationship, established relationship between climate change and faith? So is there any relationship between the environment, care for the environment, and then faith?
All right, before I even go to the question, I will want to emphatically state that religion is central to every aspect of human life and human endeavor. There's a relationship between religion and politics. There's a relationship between religion and medicine. There's a relationship between religion and economy. There's a relationship between religion and anthropology. Every aspect of the society that you can think of, there is always a religious dimension to it. And climate change is not without exception. Now, when we look at religion, we're talking about the different religions of the world. Each of these religions, directly or indirectly, consciously or subconsciously, give credence to the correlation between religion and climate change. Let me start from the Christian perspective. The Christians, the Holy Bible in the book of Genesis chapter 1, made us to understand that after God has created everything, he told man to nurture and care for the environment. That's telling us that God himself gave man the sole responsibility of taking care of his environment, the society where he's found himself. So God gave man that major responsibility. That's number one. When you come to Islam, in the Holy Quran, there are people who call the Khalifa, and according to the Holy Quran, they are called stewards of the environment. That is, Almighty Allah, after the creation, handed over the maintenance of the environment and the universe to we humans, and we are called the Khalifa, the stewards. Now, when you come to indigenous religions in Africa, with particular emphasis on the Yoruba traditional religion, you discover that we give credence to gods like God of water, God of this, God of that, God of this. So that's to tell you that religion gives credence and establishes the relationship between religion and climate change. And I would dare to state that religion is a tenant of the environment. So whatever happens in the environment will also affect religion. Therefore, it's going to be not wise and not sagacious to say that there are two distinct aspects. No, they are correlated. Religion, the environment; religion, climate change; religion, the ecosystem; religion, the space we find ourselves. They are closely and neatly related, and religion still remains a tenant of the environment.
Thank you very much. Great insight. Great insight. All right. Let me ask. What there is something called climate action. Now, the Sustainable Development Goal 13 talks about climate action. Now, and basically speaking, when we are talking about climate change, very importantly, we talk about climate action, and of course, we know that all entities, individuals have all entities have their parts to play when it comes to climate action and engendering a sustainable future. Now, what do you think is the role of faith and faith-based institutions in combating climate change and encouraging climate solutions? In like 1 or 2 minutes, what do you think is the role of faith and faith-based institutions in engendering or in combating climate change and of course encouraging climate solutions?
All right, when we look at all the SDG goals, the onus lies on every member of society to collaborate to ensure that the goals are actualized. The achievement and the accomplishment of these goals are not just left to a particular set of people. All sectors have what we call collaborative functions to ensure that they actualize, and religion plays a major role. What are the roles of faith-based institutions? What are the role of faith-based bodies? What is the role of religion to ensure that this goal is accomplished? Number one, education. Religious bodies, faith-based institutions and organizations have the responsibility, the sole responsibility, the onus lies on them to ensure that they are massively involved in educating people about climate change, educating people about what is climate change, bringing their religious dimension and understanding from their holy book. The Christian Bible, we have it there. The Holy Quran, we have it there. We have the Ifa corpus. And then we already discovered that all these religions pay credence and actualize and recognize rather the fact that we must take care and nurture our environment. In the Holy Bible, where God told Adam to nurture the environment, that alone is a foundation that can be built upon which members of the society, the religious adherents, can be educated. One of the major roles religion plays is education. Aside education, religious body must also play collaborative roles with climate change agencies and bodies. They should support them, give them necessary support that they need. Also create platforms for them to come and also speak to their church members on climate change, the effect of climate change, because on the long run, everybody will definitely be beneficiaries of whatever happens to our environment. So religion and religious faith-based organizations and institutions have the responsibility of educating, have the responsibility of collaborating. They also have the responsibility of advocating. Yes, this should not just be left for climate change NGOs, bodies, and advocates. No, religious bodies should throw their weight around it as well and ensure that they also advocate for a safer and a sane environment, because we will always be recipients of whatever the outcome of our environment produces.
Thank you. Great insight. All right, Mr. Samuel, thank you very much. Very quickly, let me ask, because this segment is largely directed towards helping people build people across careers, disciplines, and climes, helping them build sustainable mindsets, sustainable businesses, sustainable ideas, around the green sector, around secular economy, around the green space, looking at whether you are in religious studies, you are in economics, you are in medicine, you are in nursing, you are in school of business, you are wherever. There is a connection to the environment, and you can build a career from where you are. As an economist, I have a career in the green space. I've seen medical guys, I've seen mass com, I've seen artists, everybody, even footballers can be part of this change, and then they can engender sustainable development, a sustainable future even for themselves within this space. So my question is, are there lucrative pathways or careers for youth, students and women around faith and climate change?
Of course, there are a lot of them. Now, climate change is so strategic and significant that it is interdisciplinary in nature. Its interdisciplinary nature gives credence and calls for concerted attention towards this phenomenon. Now, that's very, very, very true. Everybody wants to look at what are the lucrative ventures and what can I benefit from climate change. There are a lot of them. Presently, if you observe, there are grants channeled towards climate change, people undergoing and undertaking research on climate change, of course. And you look very, very well at our immediate society. In fact, the whole world is affected, but I want to make particular emphasis to the global south. You will discover that our environment is polluted massively on a daily basis. That's a need. In fact, a state of emergency should be declared as regards this. That's to tell you that it's a major need. And we live in a world where when you have the solution to a problem, you don't run out of funds. When people identify needs and challenges in the immediate environment and they can meet those needs, that lacuna will eventually translate into marketability and finance on the long run. So young professionals, women, children, whatsoever religion you are practicing, Christianity, Islam, probably you're even atheist, whatever, this must be looked into critically as a matter of urgency, because the more we linger, the more hard work and the effect, just like you said earlier on in the introduction, that the society and our environment will continue to gain. So there are lots of opportunities, a good number of them: research, projects, partnership. You, as young people, you can even have your own NGOs, non-governmental organizations, of course, that are channeled towards this accomplishment of this SDG goal, to ensure that our society, our environment in particular, our ecosystem becomes better. And that's very, very possible if we all give it the needed attention.
Thank you very much. So lastly, which and then you combined with I want to ask a question, and then you combine it with your last thoughts on the topic, and largely speaking, so now when you say climate solutions, now within the context of faith, all solutions may not necessarily be solutions. For instance, when you say a solution, maybe it depends. Betting, for example, a solution to making money. But when it comes to the faith context, betting might not be a solution for for lack of money.
Yeah.
But of course, generally speaking, it's a kind of solution. You can make money through betting. But when you bring it to the religious context, there's a possibility that different religions frown at that act. So you can gamble, you can do, but religious context might not support that. So the same way, when it comes to climate solutions, are there acceptable solutions and unacceptable solutions? And then you give your last thought and wrap it up in like 1 or 2 minutes before we bounce out of here.
All right. Now, the sincere truth is, religion is never antagonistic to environmental development. We should understand that religion does not have the responsibility of fighting against what will benefit the people in the environment. Let me make reference to Islam. In Islam, for example, there's something called israf. Apologies to the Muslim audience, perhaps my pronunciation is not correct. And it means wastefulness, and is considered an abomination. Almighty Allah frowns against it. Now, let me come to Christianity. When God told Adam to cater for the environment, that was an instruction. it will not be too wrong for me to deduce and to say that if we don't care for the environment, it's almost like we are sinning against God. So, because at creation, God said we should care for the environment. But after creation, why is it that the environment we're told to care for and cater for, we are becoming passive and docile about that same environment? And look at the solutions that climate change advocates have been providing to make our environment better, such as I think afforestation. Afforestation is the opposite of deforestation, right? So that does not have any. It's not contrary to any religious belief. It's something that will benefit the society. When we look at the industrialization, as beautiful as industrialization is, climate change advocates are telling us on how to go about it in a better way, and that's why renewable energy is becoming prevalent, from solar to hydro and the likes. So these are better ways of sustaining the environment, and religion does not go against them. Christian religion, Islamic religion, traditional religions in Africa, in Nigeria, in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other religions of the world, because like I said earlier, religion remains a tenant of the environment. And perhaps if the tenant is not doing well, the landlord can tell the tenant to leave his house. But then, although that may not happen, but then whatever happens in the environment will affect religion. That's why we must all join our hands together to ensure that we maintain a sane and a sustainable environment. Very, very important.
Wow, thank you very much for that conclusion, and it's been a wonderful ride. Once again, we have in the house, should I say Mr. Should I say Doctor?
Mr.
Elijah Samuel is a PhD student at the Department of Religious Studies, the University of Ibadan, of course, the premier university of Ibadan. So very quickly, I just want to, we are pressed for time, and let me just reel out one or two opportunities, because we have come to this segment where we reel out opportunities for youth and women in our communities. And very quickly, I want to state that the Tony Elumelu Foundation seed grant is still there for us to make use of. It's a $5,000 seed grant, and of course, by grant, you are not paying it back. It's not a loan. You are not loaned the money and then you have to pay back. So please make use of this opportunity. Also, we have the GYCAF. The GYCAF, I know that's also in the thousands of dollars or pounds. So please make use of that. You can just go on Google and type these things: GYCAF or TEF, Tony Elumelu Foundation grant, and then you have different prompts where you can go and then find more information about these grants. We are pressed for time, like I said, and we'll go today and come back next week. Next week, by God's grace, God willing, we'll be here with a fresh episode, another edition of Green Connect, and of course it promises to be great. Why? We are bringing on board experts in different aspects, agriculture, and how you can build a sustainable agricultural business. Now, the next time we are coming here with a guest, we are coming here with an expert in sustainable agriculture, how you can make you can impact the society, you can make life better for others, and how you can create wealth when it comes to agriculture. The person is an expert in agriculture, and then you learn how agriculture is actually the oil of this, and you see everybody's going back to, you have to go back to agriculture anyways, because that's the basis of every society. Of course, all development started from agriculture. And I want to use this medium to appreciate our producer for today, the strong lady that has been in charge of us today, Wasilat. Thank you very much. And like I said, we'll go today and come back next week. Once again, this is Green Connect on Nimrod Worldwide Radio, and I'm your able host. I call myself the Climate Avatar, and my name remains Ayomipo Ademilusi. I'm the team lead for Smart Impact Network. Thank you. Goodbye.